"Sir, you can't sit here." The air inside the first-class cabin was crisp, scented with a faint mix of leather seats and imported cologne. Camilla, the lead flight attendant, stood tall in her pristine navy blue uniform, her expression sharp. Before her, an elderly black man sat calmly in a first-class seat. His clothes were simple, too simple for this section of the plane. His dark hands rested on his lap, his fingers gently caressing a weathered necklace around his neck. The old man looked up at her with warm but tired eyes, offering a small smile. "I believe this is my seat, miss." Camilla let out a sharp breath, glancing at the golden ticket in his hand. The seat number was correct. She plastered on a professional smile, the kind she had practiced in the mirror. "Sir, I think there's been a mistake. Let me escort you back to economy." The man's gaze didn't waver. He simply nodded towards the ticket. "No mistake, young lady." A few passengers nearby chuckled under their breaths. Some whispered, amused at the spectacle of an apparent intruder. Camilla felt her stomach tighten. "Sir," she said, her voice colder, "you don't belong here." The old man sighed and stood, his posture dignified despite the growing humiliation in his eyes. As he moved past her, a sharp tug on his neck stopped him. Camilla had accidentally yanked his necklace as she gestured for him to move. The pendant slipped from his neck, falling onto the plush carpet. It was old, with an engraved symbol, tarnished but powerful. Camilla scoffed at it. "You should take better care of your things, sir." She called security. Within minutes, the man was led away, his necklace still in her hand. As she watched him disappear toward the back of the plane, she smiled triumphantly. The plane soared through the sky, cutting through dense clouds like a silent predator. Inside, the first-class cabin had returned to its usual serenity. She gripped the old man's necklace in her palm, feeling the rough, time-worn metal press against her skin. With a scoff, she stuffed it into her pocket and moved through the aisle, straightening her uniform. She was still lost in thought when a voice crackled over the intercom. Camilla exhaled, shaking off the uneasy feeling creeping up her spine. As the plane taxied down the runway, Camilla adjusted her blazer, smoothing out invisible creases. Camilla moved through the aisles, her practiced smile in place, bidding farewell to the first-class passengers as they exited. But something was off. A few passengers weren't looking at her the same way. Then, as she turned towards the economy section, her stomach dropped. The old man. He was still seated, his hands resting on his knees, calm and unbothered. "Sir," she said, forcing politeness into her tone, "we've landed. It's time to disembark." The old man lifted his gaze to her. And then he smiled. "I'll be leaving in a moment," he said, voice rich and deep. "But I believe you'll be hearing from me very soon." A chill ran down her spine. Before she could respond, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed behind her. "Ms. Camila Rodriguez." She turned sharply. Two men in sleek black suits stood at the entrance of the cabin. Security. Not airport security, these men radiated a presence far heavier. Something inside her twisted. "Yes," she said, masking her unease. "Come with us." Passengers still filing out of the plane slowed their steps, some turning to watch. A murmur of curiosity rippled through the cabin. Camilla's throat tightened. "I'm on duty. If there's an issue, This is not a request," one of the men interrupted, his voice flat. The old man stood slowly, stretching his back before stepping past her. As he walked by, he glanced at her pocket, the one where she had stuffed his necklace. Camilla's heart pounded. Then, with a final look, he walked off the plane, disappearing into the terminal. And just like that, everything unraveled. Camilla's breath hitched as she followed the two security men down the jet bridge. Passengers turned their heads, some pretending not to watch, others whispering behind their hands. Humiliation burned her skin. Her mind raced. What was happening? Was she being fired? Arrested? Was this about the old man? Impossible. She had done nothing wrong. The airport's VIP lounge loomed ahead, its frosted glass doors gliding open without a sound. Inside, the air was thick with authority, polished floors, leather armchairs, and men in suits talking in hushed, serious voices. And then she saw him. The old man. Sitting at the head of a long conference table, his necklace back around his neck, hands clasped together. He looked completely at home. Like he belonged there. Her stomach twisted. "Please have a seat," one of the men said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Camilla hesitated, but she wasn't in control anymore. She sat. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The old man watched her, his face unreadable. Then finally he spoke. "You don't know who I am, do you?" His voice was calm, but something about it made the hairs on her arms rise. Camila swallowed. "You're a passenger who caused a scene in first class." The man smiled, gently but with something dangerous beneath it. "I am Arthur Mensah," he said, watching her closely. "The owner and CEO of Mensah Airways. The very airline you work for." The words hit like a gunshot. Her mind blanked. She stared at him, unable to breathe. The owner? Of the airline? The man she had publicly humiliated and had thrown into economy like a beggar? Heat rushed to her face. I didn't know." "No," he said, still smiling, "you didn't." Her pulse pounded in her ears. She had made the worst mistake of her career. Mensah leaned back in his chair, regarding her with something almost like amusement. "You looked at me, saw my clothes, saw my skin, and decided I didn't belong. Didn't you?" The truth stabbed deep. She had spent years fighting against being judged, against being underestimated. And yet, she had done exactly that to him. "I was only following protocol," she lied, her voice weaker than she wanted it to be. Mensah chuckled softly. "Is that what you tell yourself?" Camila felt like the ground beneath her was cracking open. She had spent her entire life climbing out of the pit of failure, only to fall straight into it again. And the worst part? This was only the beginning. The silence between them thickened, heavy as stone. Camila's heart slammed against her ribs. Her career was over. She had worked too hard to get here. She had swallowed humiliation, sacrificed sleep, and clawed her way through a brutal industry to earn respect. And now, she was sitting across from a man who held her entire future in his hands. A man she had humiliated. Arthur Mensah leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on the table. His expression was calm, but there was something behind his gaze. A storm quietly brewing. "Tell me, Ms. Rodriguez," he said smoothly, "do you think you deserve this job?" Her throat went dry. Of course. Even after today?" She clenched her hands beneath the table. "I made a mistake," she admitted, forcing the words out. "But I didn't know who you were." Mensah chuckled. "And if I had been just an ordinary old man? A retired teacher, a factory worker, someone without wealth and power? Would you still feel like you made a mistake?" A knife of shame twisted in her gut. She wanted to deny it, to say yes, she would have treated him the same. But that would be a lie. And he knew it. Camila exhaled shakily, feeling the weight of his gaze. "What happens now?" she asked, bracing herself. Mensah tapped a finger against the table, considering. "You see, Ms. Rodriguez," he said, his voice softer now, almost pitying, "I built this airline for people like me. For those who were once overlooked, underestimated. I've had people spit at me, call me a nobody, tell me I didn't belong. I learned to recognize that look." He tilted his head. "The same look you gave me. A punch to the stomach would have hurt less." Her nails dug into her palms. I didn't mean." "You did." His certainty shattered her. Her body felt cold. This was it. She was about to be fired. But then Mensah did something unexpected. He stood. "I won't fire you." Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "You won't?" Mensah exhaled, looking down at her. No, his expression was unreadable. "That would be too easy." Pause. And then, "I'm demoting you." The words hit like a slap across the face. Her stomach dropped. "Demoting me? You'll work in economy from now on," he continued, his tone unwavering. "Cleaning trays, picking up spills, handling real people. No more first-class arrogance. No more power." He leaned in slightly. "If you can't respect the people who pay for their tickets with hard-earned money, then you don't deserve to serve the privileged ones." Humiliation burned through her veins. First class had been her world. It was what set her apart, what made her feel important. Now she was being sent back to where she had started, where she had spent years fighting to escape. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Mensah studied her one last time. Then he turned and walked away, leaving her completely, utterly destroyed.